I actually wanted to get even more before we even get to the front line. I wanted to kind of understand. Okay, so we have because there's so many aspects to this Dolton case, right? So we do have the Fania Dukes assault, right? We also have obviously the whole Dolton part of it, as far as the mayorship with Tiffany Henyard, which is dysfunctional. That whole nightmare. Then we have the township. So with Dalton in and of itself. So once you came in, Fania Dukes was kind of the main thing that brought you in, and then from there, with the whole government itself, there with Henyard and the whole staff, did you start to dig into that? And was there a particular? We all want the same outcome. We want a better local government, but were there particular things that you came in and said, "Hey, I need to get to the bottom of some particular things that, and within this particular nightmare, were there some things that you were focused on?"
With
I would
Dalton,
say, yeah, with the Dalton government.
it literally the only thing I cared about was getting to the bottom of the sexual assault.
Gotcha.
I didn't care about nothing else that these people's talking about. What happened was, as I began to do the investigative work, I then had to look into the mayor because the accusation was that she was in part or engaged in a cover up of the sexual assault. And they
Got it.
were not responding to very simple requests or simple asks as it relates to what happened. So
Okay.
as I was doing that, I'm looking and there are all these people coming with all this information. We start fact checking, and I was like, this is fascinating. So if this woman covered it up, I have to now look her way. And then when I looked her way, I said, "Oh, I'm sticking around for this. This one, I'm sticking around."
That's
I
a
got
lot
in.
going on there.
Oh, there's a lot going on.
Wow.
Sexual
No,
assault is
it's
very important, but it's the least of my concerns. I mean, of the concerns for the Southland, and I became passionate about Dalton County.
yeah. So okay, so once you start getting the kind of a glimpse with the inner workings of what obviously there was static between the trustees and her, pretty much from the beginning. Of her mayorship is pretty much disagreement with as far as the budget. Seemed early on that she was overspending, and for whatever reason, she has a total opposite story. But I think it's obvious that there's a lot of corruption going on there. Now, with the township, were you also involved taking a look at the township as well when you start looking at her, or was it more Dalton focused, or just
No,
mainly everything?
let me tell you something that's something so great. If she would have responded to me when I first asked for the information on Fania and just had a conversation with me about that, because I had also been to Dalton before with a shooting, and I met with Mayor Riley Rogers. He reminded
Yeah,
me of when he did an interview on my show. And uh, when I met with him, he gave me the answers that I needed, and then I went and did my work. If she would have engaged me and respectfully answered those questions, to the even with it being limited, I never ever would have gotten this far into this fight. I would have just left
interesting.
for sure.
So initially, when you made your inquiry as far as Fania Duke's alleged assault, did you go straight to the mayor? Like how did you approach that inquiry?
I went to the people. So I think that who was it? I started looking for who was the staff. My team. I have some advisors that work with me. Some of them are psychologists, and some of them knew what was going on. I didn't know. And I literally was saying, I'm not interested in this case. I'm not interested in all that other hoopla they got going on. I'm too busy. I'm enjoying my life. Forget all that. I don't want to do nothing. Deal with none of that. Uh,
Hmm.
but I would try to reach out to her staff. I think that would be Keith Freeman. Yeah, Keith Freeman, who was the
Keith Freeman, yeah.
administrator, and all these people, and they would not respond, or they would respond with this like, "Who are you?"
Right.
My Leo pride was hurt. Like,
You gonna answer me? Now,
you mother. Okay, I'll
now
show
this
you.
was this email, or this was like Did you go to the city hall, or it was more like email first?
I'm confrontational. I show up. No
Okay,
cameras,
that's what I
no
figured.
YouTube channel. Come talk to me. I'm here.
Yeah.
I flew in. I got to get this information so I can go do this investigation. I'm gone. Nobody meeting with you, nobody talking to you, getting to run around. And I don't necessarily do the email and the phone call until later. That's to me an escalation. I'm coming to you directly. And I think I do that partly because that's what I want to be known for. When Jedidiah shows up, I literally can walk into the mayor of Chicago's office. And if I don't get the mayor, I'm getting that number two. I created that. I don't need no
Hmm.
appointment. Lori, what up? Brandon, what up? Ron, what up? So if I did that with America's third largest city, sure as hell I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that for a village. I mean, there is somebody at the White House that is assigned to answer the call of advocates. They answer my call every time, bro. So I do the same thing for Dalton. If I show up, I don't give a damn what you got going on because you gonna talk to me now or you gonna talk to me later. And I find that when you create that environment, it's not about me thinking that I'm somebody so special, but it
Right.
doesn't allow bullshit time to be created.
Right. Right. To get to the answer, so you can do the work. And obviously, I know with advocacy, like you said, it's a situation where most of the time people don't want to talk. Unless it's something where it's going to be something that's beneficial for them, then they're willing to talk. But most of the time, they probably like, yeah, we'll get back to you. Now, so okay, this is really interesting. So I think from the outside looking in, people who are, because everybody know about Dalton. I mean, I would have never thought, man. Like I said, I grew up in Dalton. I would have never thought people around the world would know Dalton, Illinois. Unfortunately, it's for the wrong reasons, but I would have never thought so. So the impression I think is that you go in regarding the Bonilla case, and then all of a sudden it seems from the outside looking in that you're like the top, you're the general of the whole movement as far as the meetings and getting to answers and dealing with the actual issues with the government, which are a million different issues. So where do you feel now, or where do you feel now as far as with Bonilla the next steps are for her? Because I know that there's a petition to get Andrew Holmes to resign. I know Las Vegas has stopped kind of looking at it. Are there any other steps as far as maybe civil or?
But I do want to, before I answer that second part, I want to make it clear like most of the people in the Spider are senior. So when I got there with all that young rah rah, I think that's the only reason why people really noticed me. Because this fight they were there. The people were there. I've never thought of myself as a leader, a general, the focal point. I just think that people noticed me because I was willing to push the line. And I understood that, and that's fine with me. Now, where
Mm,
am I with Fania? Fania is a special kind of survivor, and it's because she was never not fighting for herself. I had a lot of questions that inevitably got answered. I know a lot more of what's happened in the background. I also understand how this took a year. I know some of the things that were done, the promises that were made, the moves that were made to co-op it, etc. And so all of that, we have understanding. I don't talk to her on a consistent basis, and she knows that I know that she's fighting, and that I know that my place is not to become her spokesperson.
got you.
She has gained more and more strength every single week that this has gone by. And I thought that, and she has embraced being her authentic self. And so me and her have a respectable conversation. And I told her, I keep her informed of what I know, what comes across. And as so I knew that this case was going to be dropped. I knew it before pretty much anybody knew. I called to tell her, hey, look, this is gonna be no, 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 no. So then I'm always proper with history. She called me because I think the state's attorney was calling her or something like that, but I had already knew. I was aware. So we
Okay.
talked about it, and I said this is going to happen, but I was able to explain to her why it was being dismissed. People hear, oh, it's being dismissed, but they're not involved. But I knew
Right.
why it was going to be dismissed. For example, I'm gonna give you three things on your show.
Yeah.
it is an accusation a year later while there is a civil proceeding. It is Las Vegas who are
Right.
they could be a lot tougher on this, but the threshold for the beyond a reasonable doubt proof is very high. They not only
Mm-hmm.
have to prove a rape, they have to prove penetration. If you are drugged, it's hard to be your own witness of a recollection you don't have when there's no witness. Doesn't
Right.
mean it doesn't happen, but that's legal that I just spoke. So I know that, and then I know a million other things which make this case difficult to navigate. The chain of
Yeah.
custody, the information going through the South Holland, the police department. I know why they didn't make the report there versus a year later in South Holland, because I also understand how Tiffany runs her ship. So we know what's going on. So
Right.
we're going to be going to Las Vegas on the 15th of December to file a subsequent police report. And we
Okay.
also have other information that people don't know about because there are larger entities just trying to work in the best interest of justice. And we want to make sure that when things are presented, it's a slam dunk and that the
Yes.
information gets out somehow. It's not over.
So, as you know, there's so much mess going on in Dalton that sometimes her case is just part of a million other scandals, right? So they get overshadowed by, I can't even count how many things are going on there. Um, every day it seems like, or every week, whatever. So it is great to know that how you guys are working behind the scenes. People may not know what's going on, but it's not over. So that's a great thing.